Greetings, my friends. This is Mark Hoverson. Hope you are doing well. And today we are going to talk about the power of connectivity within Rippln. And as our special guest and industry expert, I have Mr. Jonathan Budd. A little introduction on Jonathan. A few years ago, he started in his parents' basement as a grassroots online marketer. And within the course of a few short years, he literally generated a multi-million dollar business. Cool thing about Jonathan is when he got started, MySpace, he was ahead of the curve learning how to market and utilize MySpace. And then he jumped to YouTube. And then he was one of the first on Google. And he's always been a pioneer in the next technology. And that's really what's driven his entrepreneurial growth. And we are going to talk about the power of really the next iteration of potential as marketers, as entrepreneurs. And we could not have a better guest today. Mr. Jonathan Budd, are you there?
Mark, thank you so much, my friend. It's truly an honor to be here, and I hope I can live up to any of those kind words you shared.
Well, I know you can. So, our first image that we're looking at here says that there's over 140 billion friend connections on Facebook alone. Regarding the social graph and that social connectivity is unprecedentedly high and it's gaining, what's what is Rippln? How does this integrate with the vision of Rippln with this kind of new social connection, social graph motif that's happening in the marketplace?
Well, it's a great question, and I think what Ripplin represents is the glue. It really represents a whole different level of glue for communities. And so, if you look at the 140 billion friend connections that exist on Facebook, that's amazing. We're connected, via Facebook, the platform, to each other. But Ripplin actually represents, I believe, a deeper purpose behind the connections, because not only are we connected to each other in really the same way that we will be, across all these different platforms, but there's a deeper reason why we're connected to each other. We're connected to each other because we're finally getting rewarded for the value that we bring to the marketplace. We're connected to each other because the point of the ripple is, what can we create in the world? What is our ripple effect in the world? How do we actually impact others beyond just ourselves? And that extends beyond just maybe sharing a cool new app or a product or a service that we can get paid on. And it extends into, well, what's the total ripple effect?
Right.
When I share something, even if it's a charity campaign or something that people will start to see from us, fairly soon here. So I think that it's a more meaningful connection that happens through the ripple than a lot of what's going on out there in the social media space.
Exactly. So when it talks about we are driving the social graph and we've got the 5 million likes, the engagement that we're creating, which is hundreds of billions of dollars. And you helped create this slide, and at the bottom it says, when will we build our own ripple and have transparency with the value we create in the marketplace? One of the common conversations in Rippln is that what's cool about it is we're not forcing a value proposition and trying to create value. We're really recognizing that a person's social graph is worth billions and billions of dollars. And what we're doing is reorientating and recognizing the value of people's relationships and their networks, and that their network really is worth their net worth, but right now they're shut out from it. So when it comes in terms of like being able to connect even more in a more meaningful way through the social graph, what does this transparency conversation mean to you in terms of connectivity and the whole vision on that?
Well, that's a fantastic question, my friend, and thank you for sharing those insights too. And I think when you look at this graph right here, what it really shows you is just how much engagement we're truly driving in the marketplace. I mean, it's unprecedented levels of engagement and audience. And when I say we, I mean really the people in general. It truly is our networks. And even though our network may only be 100 friends on Facebook or 300 friends on Facebook or, a couple friends on Twitter or Instagram or whatever it may be, the ripple effect of those networks extends, almost unlimited. The ripple effect of that, of the first 1,000 Harvard students who signed on to Facebook when Zuckerberg launched it, that ripple effect is a billion people a year later.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think what's fascinating is when people truly will have transparency into how that ripple effect spreads across the world. And right now we are at the absolute beginning of the Rippln movement. I mean, the absolute beginning. It is unlimited where we can go with this. The technologies that we can introduce, the platforms we can introduce, the products, the concepts. Over the next 5 to 10 years, as the world completely changes, and all of a sudden we're cloud computing from our mobile phone, and our mobile phone is a more powerful computer than you're going to be able to find on any desktop across the world, and all of a sudden people aren't even using desktop computers anymore, and you can hit a button and a 3D projection will go onto a wall that is your whole screen, and then infrared lasers actually track how your hands move, and you're literally computing on an image on a wall, just like you kind of see in like the Tom Cruise movies. I mean, these things are already in development. It's already in development. This is years away potentially. A future, a reality like I think we're used to seeing in the movies. And so where this could truly go is unlimited. We're at the start, but what we're really doing here is we are creating the platform that finally rewards people for the value they create in the marketplace. We are the platform that gives you transparency into your social graph, and there's going to be unlimited ways for people to really get rewarded and monetize the value in their networks. And when they choose to really commit to Rippln, and if you want to commit, build a business with us and really make this something that changes your life and changes the income that you produce, the possibilities are really unlimited, and we're just at the start. So I couldn't be more excited, Mark.
Yeah, I know. With the connectivity alone, I've shared my story where within the first day, a friend of a friend, two ripples away, was friends with DJs in London. And just because I found out like why is London exploding, all of a sudden I'm on a FaceTime with DJs in London, and I'm actually genuinely interested in them just because of the transparency of how my ripple moved over to their world, and they're connected to me and I'm connected to them, and it's a deeper engagement than currently exists, which, as you can see from this slide, we are very engaged already, but it is disjointed. It's the connectivity is it's not as meaningful. And again, I think what Rippln's doing is we're recognizing the value, and we're actually making engagement more rewarding emotionally, socially, and monetarily as well. So speaking of, the potential good that the Ripple can do, we're looking at some stats here that 4% of people donated online in 2002. A decade later, we see 65% of people donated online in 2012, and then 50% of all people who donated via social media reported that a friend asked me to. So in terms of the potential social good the Ripple can become, what are some thoughts and some visions you have on what we can do for the world at large?
Well, first off, Mark, thank you for sharing that story, because it's an amazing story that you really just shared, because it shows, I think, the power of the Ripple when it comes to us being connected to one another. And I think that the world is at a place where we want connection. I really think that people want, meaningful relationships, meaningful connections to others, more than they ever have, ever. And we're also in a place where we are really connected, because of the social connectivity of the world. Something like the Ripple, in just an hour, you're on the phone with a brand new friend in London who's a cool DJ who all of a sudden, anytime you travel to London, think about how much richer your life will be just having a friend and having somebody to show you around and take you to cool parties or whatever it may be. And this is just the start of the stories that I think are going to start happening through the Ripple, and how we're going to be able to get connected to new friends and even possibly new people that are like family to us all over the world through the Ripple. And the ripple effect of that alone, I believe, just on our happiness and our quality of life, nothing makes us happier then the people we love, and forming new close relationships with people we love. And I think that, the Ripple is all about that. And I think we're just starting to scratch the surface of connectivity in that way.
True.
And when it comes to the social good that you were just talking about, that can really happen through the Ripple. I think if you look at this slide right here, and you look at the Rippln values document that we put out a little while ago, I think part of what people want nowadays is why there's so much dissatisfaction in the job market. And I think a lot of people don't find the work that they do super meaningful. If somehow the work isn't contributing, it's not enough just to make money anymore. Like, we want to make money, but we also want to make money in a way that's rewarding to us. We want to make money in a way that it feels like we're doing something significant, and it feels like we're adding value to the world and we're contributing. And that's how we want to make money, and that's what feels the best to us. And I think that's a trend that is picking up in the world a lot. And the Ripple is really sort of, I think, at the forefront of that, in the sense to where we can recognize that not only can we make a lot of money through the Rippln platform and through really focusing on growing our Ripple and building teams inside of our Ripple so that our ripple effect spreads all over the world, and we're getting rewarded for all the value taking place within it. But what's the good that can come out of that, right? Because that's where a whole other level of meaning comes from. And when we actually start, introducing our, Ripple for Good campaigns, where we're, giving a hand up to entrepreneurs all over the world through microfinancing, which is coming very soon, just FYI. And we start introducing all the different campaigns that the Ripple has for good. And all of a sudden, your back office of Rippln, you can literally see on each level of your Ripple how many people donated to the campaign or how many people contributed, clothes or food or whatever, because we're tracking it all and we're displaying all that data in the Ripple. And you get to see not only, did you start a ripple effect that spread across the world and reached all these people and makes you, XYZ per month, but look at the good that's happening. Oh my God. $10,000 got donated through my Ripple and fed, a million people who would have went to bed hungry tonight if I hadn't, started my Ripple. Or 1,000 entrepreneurs just got a small micro loan to go change their community by bringing, eggs, goats, and all these things. And I just affected the lives of 500,000 people, through starting this Ripple. And all of a sudden, this becomes a lot bigger. The ripple effect is bigger than us individually. And that's where we see this going. And I think that's why we're so excited to all team up and be a part of it together.
Yeah, I mean, just with in-app, the whole concept of in-app purchases, where in a game like Clash of Clans, people can pay $2 for a few extra gems to help support their virtual clan. And what we can do with the Ripple, which we really can do, is we can take a struggling area and we can do a $2 in-app. Do you want to help the cause? And right now we have 300,000 people, and just think of the power to generate a few $100,000 and to be able to see what came from your Ripple and just do a $2 donation yourself. I mean, the power with the ease of technology, the tracking, the connectivity. Jonathan, you've opened my mind, as you always do, especially with the infrared conversations. I thought I was in Star Trek for a moment, but that's where you always take us. You always take us into the future. That's why I respect you as a man and leader and as an innovator, entrepreneur, and thought leader. And to everybody watching, this is maybe worth watching again, taking notes, and definitely sharing with your friends, your family, and people throughout your Ripple. Jonathan Budd, thank you for your time and your insight today.
Mark, thank you so much. Appreciate you, my friend, and appreciate everybody listening.